Hello ladies and gentlemen, Happy New Year. I hope you're enjoying yourselves so far. Today I want to release a new tool I've been working on for the past month. It's a tool I call Bitmap MD. This should be useful to Mega Drive developers and ROM hackers alike. I've certainly found it useful myself. So, this tool will take bitmap images and convert them as best as it can into Mega Drive graphics. And it will do it at the highest possible quality within reasonable imagination. Before I go into details about the tool, I'd like to share a little bit of a backstory and explain why I've done this, why it exists, and what I expect the tool to do. So, back in 2005, Sega released a compilation game called Sonic Gems Collection. And there were a lot of obscure titles for the game. There was Sonic CD, there was Sonic the Fighter, there was Sonic R. A lot of these games many people probably never owned or probably never even got to play. But the one thing that Sonic Gems Collection did have, which I found very, very interesting, was the museum. This was a screen that had loads of question mark boxes. It was like loads of question mark squares all over the screen. And if you hovered over one of them, it would come up with a hint at the bottom. And if the hint would always be something like play Sonic CD 20 times, or play one of the Game Gear games for like 30 odd hours. And if you did that, the square would unlock and it would show you a picture of a concept drawing, or it will be like one of these Sonic the Screensaver images, or it will be a screenshot of one of the recent games that they had around the time. Like Sonic Heroes, I think there's a few in there, for example. It also had a slew of other things, such as audio and some mini-games to unlock, but the whole idea behind a museum I thought was a fantastic idea, because it increases replay value. You know, you want to play the games more to unlock some more of the squares, so it is a really fantastic idea. I don't think I would have played half of the Game Gear games if I hadn't have been forced to play them to unlock the squares. So I figured, well, why not just take the museum and put it in a hack? But instead of having it displaying Sonic's history, you have it displaying Sonic hacking history. Sonic hacking has been around for over 20 years now. It has its own large, diverse history, and why not share that? Share a bit of information about it, share some screenshots from various different hacks over the years. Now, I did try to do this back in 2009, 2010 with Sonic Brother Trouble. I tried to put a museum into that. The problem was I didn't have the time nor the resources to do it, and in the end I ended up cancelling the hack, so all you ended up getting was a blank screen with a load of question marks in it, and it didn't really do anything. It played some audio music, but it's like you play it on hardware and it sounds absolutely horrible, which I still laugh about today. So then later I decided to re-implement the museum into a newer project, Sonic's Summer Party. This is a new project I'd been working on, featuring a three-dimensional party board game. Unfortunately, I never got around to putting the museum into this hack because I ended up shelving the hack before I even got to that stage. So again, the idea ended up being postponed. So I spoke with Natsumi and asked her about putting the museum into our latest hack, Sonic 3 and Knuckles Battle Race. We discussed it and she agreed that we should do this for the next release. To be fair, it's not like she had a choice. I was going to put it in anyway, but don't tell her. So I'm going to share a little bit of a spoiler here. This is the museum in its current form. Just as a demonstration, this is just temporary, just for testing purposes. So obviously you have each of these different squares, they have a little something on them, and I'm going to show you one now so you can view it. This is a screenshot from Cyan Helcarax's hack, Sonic 1 Beta, the beta hoax from 1999. We managed to rip this from save states, so we can pretty much get a screenshot from any Mega Drive game we want, We also have like an info screen. We can display text about the screenshot. This text isn't accurate to the image, it's just there for temporary purposes. But as you well know, there's a lot of 3D entries, and we need some way to include these 3D entries, at least a screenshot of them. Especially this year, there were a huge amount in the hacking contest. So we needed a tool which could do it for us. Something that would take a screenshot of the 3D entry and convert it into Mega Drive graphics at a really, really high quality, the highest quality as possible. So we looked at the various tools that would do the conversion for us, and the higher quality they would produce the image, the more convoluted the tool happened to be. We wanted something that would produce high quality results, but at the same time would be very, very simple and directly to the point, without having to fiddling about with tiles or palettes or anything like that. Let the tool do it for you. I'm going to show you Bitmap MD now. Start by showing my desktop here. I've kept the resolution down to a modest size that hopefully will display well on YouTube. I apologize for people on data caps, but I figured the best way to demonstrate the tool is to make a video about it. So you'll be downloading this zip file, and inside will be three things. You'll have the example ROM, I'll explain that in a minute, and then you'll have the tool. You'll have it in 32-bit or in 64-bit, so you choose whichever one you want. If you are running on a 32-bit machine, you'll have the 32-bit one. If you're on a 64-bit machine, you choose whichever one you want, it's up to you. So I'm going to drag the 32-bit one out, because why not? I'm also going to drag the example ROM out, because I need to explain that. I'll set this to one side and bring these down here. Okay, so first things first, this example ROM is exactly that. It's just an example, it's demonstration. It is not required to run the tool. You don't have to have this here. You can just get the tool if you want, if you already know how to use it and you know how it works. So it's not necessary, but I'm going to explain what it is. Inside is a source code to a ROM. Again, I'll explain in a moment. And you have these three files. You have VRAM, VDP, and CRAM. This is an image. It's an image I've already converted. These three files were spat out by Bitmap MD. Bitmap MD produced these three files. I have included it into this ROM, which I'm going to build now. There it is, there's the ROM. If I run it up, you'll see there is a high quality picture of Lena, or Lena, I'm not sure how her name is pronounced. Her picture has been used as a test image for various algorithms of image compression, image dithering, and so forth, so I felt it was appropriate to use her image in this demonstration. Okay, so the reason why this is here is just in case you go to convert an image and then you run it up in your own ROM or hack or whatever, and it doesn't look right, and you want to make sure that it's not something you've done wrong. You can always bring the files to here, include them into the ROM, run the ROM, and if it looks fine in this ROM, you'll know that there's something wrong with your code. If it looks wrong on this ROM, then it's something wrong with the files and something wrong that my tool did, so I would feel very appreciative if you would report that. If it is something to do wrong with code, well, you can always look into this source code here. There's some code in here for displaying the image. So here we are, just loading the VDP registers to the VDP, loading the VRAM contents into VRAM, loading the palette contents into CRAM, and it just traps itself on the loop. And there's the three files included into the ROM. It's a very simple setup. There's probably better ways to do this, but this is the most basic way. It's a basic way that I think most of you would probably understand and appreciate. This above here is just setup code. It's just the raw basic stuff, nothing too important, and obviously the header and the vector table. So that's what this is, just a test ROM for testing not only the graphics but code as well. You can use it if you want. If not, you know how to use it, and you know how to include the files into your project, then you don't need it, so fair enough. So I'll put that to one side for the meantime, and we'll concentrate on the tool now. On the left here, you'll notice I've got a few preview images. These are various images I've selected. Some of them convert well, some of them do not. I've tried to keep the test unbiased so you can see what it can and can't do. Gives you a good example. Now the program, you can run it in 3 different ways. You can run it normally and it will bring up an open file dialog like this, and you can select the bitmap images you want this way. You can select one, or you can select more than one if you wanted to. We'll go on record and say that it only supports bitmap images. There's no support for like JPEG or PNG or anything like that. I apologize for that, but you can always open up the files in like Paint. You can always open like JPEG in Microsoft Paint and save it to bitmap if you want. It shouldn't affect the quality of the image if you convert it to uncompressed bitmap, and it's not a big deal. So maybe in the future I'll put support for JPEG or PNG. Depends on what time I have. I don't have a lot of time these days, so but yeah, this is the first method you can use. I'm going to cancel this because I want to show you the second method. The second method involves dragging and dropping the files onto the program, and it'll open up like that. Now the third method involves the console. It's called console mode. You can use programs to give Bitmap MD the arguments, like the file names, the settings, and the program will do the conversion for you without loading up any dialog boxes. I don't imagine many of you will be using that setting, but I put it in there because I thought I might need to use it in the future at some point. So that's why that's there. I won't explain too deep into the how to use it, but I will leave some information in the release of the program. Maybe I'll write a text document and shove it into the zip file. So on the left here you have a series of settings, and on the right you have a preview image. Now just a quick explanation about the preview image. This is not a preview of the image. This is a preview of the image after it's been converted using these settings on the left. It's using the color series that were provided by Tito. Some years ago Tito did some measurements with his scope, and he measured the voltages of the color brightnesses coming out of the Mega Drive, and he provided a list of accurate colors which can be used to emulate or replicate the image of what it would look like on the Mega Drive. So what you're seeing here is an accurate representation of how it will look like on the hardware. This is an accurate representation. Now obviously if you run it in an emulator it might not look the part, and I'll show you an example of that now, actually using the example ROM we had a moment ago. So if we open it in Blastum, to my knowledge Blastum is using Tito's color values, which is why it looks the way it does. But if you open it in other emulator, for example if I open it in Kega Fusion, you'll notice there is a jarring difference, especially like around her cheek here. The color isn't as smooth. Kega is using the wrong colors. It's not accurate to hardware. No fault of the creator. Obviously this information wasn't available until after Kega was released, so there's no fault there. But yeah, this is why I'm looking into using Blastum as an emulator. It's a pretty good emulator. I like it, and I'll be using it for demonstrating the images in this video. So if it doesn't look right on your project and you're running it in an emulator that doesn't have the correct colors, that will probably be why. So let me just close that down and bring this back. Okay, so the settings on the left, you have these 3 here, which I'll go into details about in a moment. Here you've got different resizing techniques. It has to scale the image down to the size of a Mega Drive, so you can use Fit, which resizes it but maintains the aspect ratio, but fits it so that all of the image fits into the screen at least. So you'll find that the top and the bottom will be blank, or if the image is a vertical image, the left and the right side will be blanked out. You can choose Fill. which will resize it and maintain aspect ratio, but it will cut off the ends of the image just to fit it all on the Mega Drive screen. So if the image is tall vertically, it will cut off the top and the bottom. You also have stretch, which will stretch it into the size of the Mega Drive without maintaining aspect ratio. And finally you have custom. This will use the fit resizing to begin with, but you can resize the horizontal or vertical size of the image by hand. It doesn't give you major control over it, but it gives you some minor control which you will probably need. I'm going to put these back to 0. Excuse me. Put that back to fit for the meantime. Next up you have Interpolate Scaling. Now when it resizes it, it will do interpolation to create anti-aliasing. So you'll notice these pixels are quite blurred out, they're quite smoothed out. You can turn this off. The image looks quite blocky now, but this is with the interpolate off. And I'm going to put it back on for the meantime. There is a reason why you've got this setting here. I'll explain that in a moment. Snap scale to nearest tile. Now when it resizes it with maintain aspect ratio, you'll find that the height of it or the width will not be it will not fit into the exact size of a tile. It will always be like, for example, if this image resizes and the top of it only uses like 3 pixels of a tile, it will resize the image such that it resizes it down and doesn't use those 3 pixels. So if I turn it on, there you go, you can see it's resized. It took off those end bits. They only occupied a small amount of the tile. If they occupied like 6 pixels of a tile, it will resize it to occupy 8 pixels of a tile. So that's what that setting is. I'll turn that off. Here we've got dithering. You've got the Jarvis setting, or you've got the Floyd Steinberg. I think it's Steinberg, I'm not too sure. You've also got order dithering, so if I try these out, you can see the various dithering, the dots appearing. Some of these will cause some colours to appear more than another colour, and it could potentially push a colour off. So if I try like Floyd Steinberg, you'll see that it's pushed the yellow off, because apparently they just happen to be more green than yellow, and the yellow just happened to be a less favourable colour and couldn't fit in the palette, so it pushed it off. You also got order dithering as well. You've also got post dithering. Now because there's 2 places in which you can apply the dithering, sometimes it comes problematic. You can apply the dithering from the image being converted to Mega Drive colours, or you can apply the dithering from Mega Drive colours to palette limited colours. If you select the post dithering, this will apply the dithering to the conversion from Mega Drive colours to palette colours. Now this does do some damage. This isn't the dithering algorithm failing, it is actually doing its job. It's trying to blend out the yellow and the gold here, as you can clearly see. But sometimes it doesn't work, so that's why I've got the option here. You can always turn it off if it doesn't look to your liking. I'm going to turn the dithering off for now because I don't think I need it. Down here you've got layers. You can turn off the shadow and highlighting, and as you can see, a lot of quality was lost there, a huge amount. You can turn the sprites off and you've lost a layer of colours. You can change from double plane to single plane, and now it only uses 1 plane of colours, and as you can see, the quality has extraordinarily detrimented. It's completely destroyed the quality by quite a high amount. So I'm going to put those back on. So you're probably wondering, why are these even options? Again, I'll get to that in a moment. Next you've got the screen width and the screen height. I believe this is the wrong image to demonstrate it, but I'm going to go and try and head and explain anyway. As I mentioned before, the Mega Drive has 2 horizontal resolutions. It's got H40 mode. This is 320 pixels horizontally. And then it's got H32 mode, which is 256 pixels horizontally. I call this a resolution because 256 pixels, it scales up to the same size as 320, but it is only 256. It's just stretched out. That's why I call it a resolution. You've also got, on the right here, you've got counter. Because it resizes the resolution, the image may appear stretched. So what this counter will do is it will try to resize the image inwards deliberately so that once it stretches out, it looks normal. So if we select this, you'll see it looks very similar, but it's using less horizontal resolution. But it looks very similar. The scaling is almost the same. On the bottom here, you've got scale preview to VDP standards. This is just the preview, so this is what it will look like when it's on hardware. You can turn that off and see its proper resolution. So as you see, that's the proper resolution. But on hardware, it will stretch it out. The H32 without it will do the same, but without compensating for the stretching. And as you see, it resized it vertically just so as to fit it in. So if I turn that off, you get the normal image. So there it is, with the correct maintain aspect ratio, and with VDP standards it will stretch it out, as you can see. So that's what that is. Sometimes it does this, sometimes you get this generating preview crap. Just fiddle about with it, change the settings, and it will do it properly. I need to fix that, I need to find out what's causing that. The final thing in the settings is height. Now, the Mega Drive has two Y sizes, it's two vertical sizes. I don't call them resolutions, I call them sizes, because it doesn't resize them to fit a specific resolution. It literally is a resize. The standard is 28 tiles, which is 224 pixels. There is a mode to extend that amount. You can extend it to 30 tiles or 240 pixels, which for this image it didn't do because of the maintain aspect ratio. So if I change it to stretch, for example, there we are, and then we go for this mode, you can see it's used the whole extra amount of tiles there, the extra 2 tiles you've got it. Turn it off, you lose the 2 tiles. Turn it on, you gain the 2 tiles. And there you have it. On the right here we've got the Ntsc Counter. In Ntsc mode you can't use V30 mode. You just can't use it because Ntsc is already stretched out. It is already stretched out to this size. And in PAL it ends up being shrunken down because PAL machines have more scan lines to generate under a single frame. So only PAL gets this mode. Once you've got it in this mode, it will stretch to the same size as Ntsc would display. Now, V28 Ntsc Counter would display the image, but it will resize it such that it will look the way it would do if it was on a PAL machine, without the stretching. So it counters that. It's the same as the width, but for height, basically. I won't go too deep into that because I barely use that myself. Okay, so now getting to the reason why you have control over these settings. There is a very, very good reason. You have a limited amount of VRAM. Even with this tool, you have a limited amount of VRAM. All these graphics probably won't be able to fit in VRAM. It will try its best. It will try to find duplicate tiles. It will try to erase duplicate tiles. It will try flipping and mirroring. It will try horizontal. It will try looking in the entire VRAM, even using the plane mappings and the sprite mappings, trying to see if it can use them as a tile, if it can. It probably won't do, but it's there just in case. It will do its best. But there's no guarantee you will definitely be able to generate the image, which is why you've got these settings here. So we're going to try it with the current settings at the moment. See how it goes. There it goes. And no, we ran out of VRAM. As you can see, it needs to use this amount of VRAM, but this is the maximum amount of VRAM you can use. You've only got 10,000 bytes of VRAM to use. It needs an extra nearly 4,000 bytes. So would you like to try with different settings? Yes, I would. So we can start by removing the shadow and highlighting. I'll remove sprites or set to single plane, and while the quality goes down, there's a higher chance it will fit into VRAM, which is what you want. But maybe you don't want to remove the quality. Maybe you want the quality to remain, but you still want to fit it in. So you can try, for example, if we snap scale to nearest tile, it's resized vertically. Now the image is slightly smaller, so it might be able to fit in because it requires less art to fit it in. So we click OK. It still didn't fit, but it still saved us nearly 1,000 bytes of VRAM. So perhaps we can try something else. You can try turning interpolation off, turning the anti-aliasing off. This can save some memory sometimes, but we want to keep it on for this example. You can try with a different horizontal resolution if you wanted. So if I tried the H32 with counter, we can try that. Give that a go, see if that works. And it did, it worked. It completed perfectly fine. So up here you can see it spat out a folder with the same name as the bitmap file, and inside you'll have 4 files. You've got a preview bitmap image. If you open that, this will show you a preview of what it's supposed to look like. And the other 3 files are CRAM, VRAM and VDP. So we can copy these and put them into the example ROM that I had earlier. Yes, 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 there they are. Build, and then run. And there you are. There it is. Let's give another try with another image. We'll try changing a few other settings. Now this image, it will love this image. The shadow and highlighting especially will love it. If you've got a really dark image or a really light image, shadow and highlighting will love it. And the reason is because of the colors that it supplies you. So if we look at the Mega Drive palette, I've generated a list of colors that the Mega Drive can use in its fullest. So the left column here is the standard Mega Drive colors that you would normally get, and the right column here is with shadow and highlighting turned on. So this is every possible color the Mega Drive can generate. Now you notice on the shadow and highlighting, only the top right seems to have extra colors in them. It's got extra color depth. It's only the very brightest colors. And even on the next line, and the next one, and the next one, and the next one, it's always the top right brightest colors. And it isn't about halfway that now it's the darkest colors that get the extra treatment. They get the extra grades. The darkest colors have the extra refined colors. So really dark images and really light images love shadow and highlighting. They just absolutely love it. This image is no exception. Now for this one, you can see there's a few bits of color banding here for this middle color section. I'm going to see if I can try and hide that by using a dithering algorithm. There we go. Use that dithering. Doesn't do a fantastic job, but it does it better than it would have looked before, I think personally. Maybe other people might think differently. It's entirely up to you what you use. So we give that a go. Okay. Nope, too much VRAM. By about 3,500 bytes of VRAM. Okay, so we need to change something. I don't want to damage the quality of this image, so I'm going to try smaller resolution. We'll try the H32 with counter. I like that, we'll give that a go. There we go, converted fine, no problems. Here's the next image. In fact, actually I'll show you it in action. So here's the folder it's generated. We'll grab the 3 files. We'll put them into the ROM. Build the ROM. Voila, there we are. I think that looks nice. I mean, it's obviously not perfect. You've got a few pixels there that are slightly wrong, where it's tried to compensate for the resizing. But it looks clear enough. If I want to display a 3D entry on the Mega Drive in my museum, I can do, and it's clearly obvious what it's meant to be. It's clear, it's concise. So there you go. Close that down. Now the next image. This is one that didn't convert very well. There was just too many colors in this image. I'll load up the image now so you can see. There's lots of blue, green, purple, black, red, orange. There's a whole rainbow selection of colors here. So this one struggled to convert. This is an example of an image that doesn't convert very, very well. In fact, if I turn the shadow and highlighting off, you find that there's actually a little bit of improvement for some weird reason. You can turn off the dithering, I think. I'm going to, you see, look, now that I've turned off the dithering, the blue has appeared. See? Sometimes these settings can push colours off the wheel to compensate for the precision. So let's try some of these. What are these here? You've got force shadow colors to plane. Let me turn the snap scale off. You've got force shadow colors to plane. When it generates a palette of different colors. Some of these colors can be used as shadow and highlighting. The sprites decide which ones are shadow and highlighted and which ones are not. So if I put it on, you'll find that all of the ones that could be shadow and highlighted display on the plane, and the sprite will shadow and highlight it. You can force all of the shadowed colors onto the plane colors, because not all of them will be. At the moment, it rearranges the palette so that the most occurring colors appear first, followed by the least occurring. So it does it in order of most occurring. You can rearrange it so that it's the shadow ones get the priority. And as you can see, it's changed a little bit here around the sea. If I turn that off again, you can see it's gone darker. Turn it up, it's gone lighter, because it's found a shadow color there can now fit. You've also got sprite has priority colors. You can see there's a little bit of detail lost on the left and the right there, but otherwise the reason why you have this is because sprites tend to be bulky and they tend to use a lot of tiles, so they tend to be quite expensive. But often you have to have a lot of the empty spaces of a tile in the sprite have to be shown as a blank tile anyway, just to make sure the sprite remains a large size. If you give the sprite the priority colors, then it will mean the planes will use less colors, they'll use less pixels to display, and you can remove the blank tiles in places. So this can save you some VRAM. So I'm going to give that a go. Where is it gone? There it is. It converted fine, no problems. That's not bad then. I'm pretty surprised. Next up we have the Amy image, where she doesn't look good for some weird reason. It might be the H32 mode. I'll put it to normal mode. There we go. Take that off. That's better. This is a very, very good image. This one converts very, very well. I do like this one. It works with dithering when the tool wants to display it, and it also works without dithering. But that's the reason why you've got these settings here. They're here to help manipulate the image in various ways to make it fit into VRAM. But one of the settings I haven't shown here yet is the use best settings possible. If you check that, a preview cannot be generated. The reason why is because it will use the highest resolution first, then it will start reducing the resolution using the smaller resolutions. Then I'll try the highest resolution again, but with some of the quality loss, and you go from the highest quality to the lowest quality. So if you can't be bothered to experiment and resize and everything, you can always let the tool do it, which I'm going to do now. So if we OK that. Oh, it failed on that one. It succeeded on the second one. So the first one, using this resolution, it failed because it ran out of VRAM. The second one, using this resolution, it succeeded. It succeeded perfectly fine. And I'm going to show you that now. Copy those three. Put them into the ROM. Assemble. Run. And there she is. Not bad. Not bad at all. Okay, the next image, and obviously you can't generate it because you've got this setting turned on, so we turn it off. The next one is this one, in its highest glory. Now, you can always use the settings again, but down here you've got apply to remaining images. Now there are 3 more images to apply to here, 1, 2, 3. If you check that and click OK, it will try the best settings on all of them one by one. So there's the wall, failed, succeeded, failed, failed, succeeded. And the first one succeeded. I'm quite surprised. And there you have it. On the left you've got the folders with the data in. So here's a preview of what it looks like afterwards, and here's a preview of what it looks like before. So let me demonstrate on the ROM just to show you. Replace, replace, replace. Assemble. Here it is, and there we go. Not bad, not bad. not perfect, but not bad. And then we got Lena. I already deleted Lena before, but Lena, I don't know. So I won't do that one again. And then we got Amy Adventure 2. This is one of Main Memory's projects. So let me copy this into the example ROM. Assemble the ROM and run. And yeah, it doesn't look too bad. As you can see, like the glove here, the shadow and highlighting just absolutely loved it. You can barely see the pixels at all on her glove, and especially around her eye, they're very, very difficult to see. It really loves bright colours and bright images, and it likes dark images as well. This image is quite unique because there's a lot of black in the background, there's a lot of dark sections around, but there's also a lot of bright sections, so this one converted pretty well. And this is the type of image I would probably put in the museum, because this is one of Main Memory's mods. I always found that interesting. We call the 3D mods, we call them mods, and we call the ROM hacks, which I find was really interesting, because ROM hacking technically isn't hacking anymore. It's you got access to the source code. You're rewriting it. It's that is more of a mod. These are more of a hack, because you really are hacking. Nothing in relation to the tool. Just a little something that came to mind. Now, obviously, it's not perfect. There are a few damages here. For example, you see her arm is using some dark red. This is the tool trying to find the best color it can to fit into there, and that is the closest color it could find. That's the absolute closest, especially around her cheek here. You can see some red, but that's the closest it could find. Maybe I could improve the algorithm in the future, but we'll see. We'll see how that works. But that is Bitmap MD, and I hope this video will teach you how to use it. Hopefully you'll do a better job at using it. I reckon if I had made a huge post with large amounts of text, I don't think many people would use the tool then, because I think people would probably look at the large block of text and go, nah, I ain't buying it, I ain't doing it. So yeah, that's the reason why I've made this video. I hope this tool does well for you. I hope it supplies you with what you need. If you have any suggestions, by all means feel free to post a comment on the video, or make a reply to the thread I've linked this video to. And once again, I hope you've all had a very good Happy New Year so far. I know it's only been one day, but whatever. I also apologise for my voice. I appear to be losing it now. Anyways, Happy New Year, have a good evening.